The Horn of Africa is once again at a crossroads, with new rivalries reshaping the region. Today, Somaliland stands at the center of a high-stakes contest between Eritrea and Somalia. Somaliland's quest for international recognition has made it a strategic prize, drawing in its neighbors. Eritrea's recent diplomatic moves toward Hargeisa mark a bold shift, directly challenging Somalia's authority. Somalia, in turn, is mobilizing to counter Eritrea's influence, viewing any engagement with Somaliland as a threat to its sovereignty. The rivalry is no longer just about Somaliland's independence, it's about who will shape its future. Eritrea's overtures signal a new regional strategy, while Somalia scrambles to defend its territorial integrity. The outcome could redefine the Horn's political landscape and impact maritime security in the Gulf of Aden. As tensions rise, the fate of Somaliland is now tied to the ambitions of its neighbors. The stakes are high, and the region faces uncertainty and potential conflict. In this video, we'll break down the motivations behind Eritrea and Somalia's actions. We'll explore how history, strategy, and ambition are colliding in Somaliland. The next chapter in the Horn of Africa is being written now, and its consequences will be felt far beyond its borders. Let's dive into the history and shifting alliances that set the stage for today's crisis. The future of Somaliland and the region hangs in the balance. To understand today's crisis, we need to revisit the region's turbulent past. Eritrea's hard-won independence from Ethiopia in 1993 shaped its fierce sense of sovereignty and suspicion of powerful neighbors. Now, Eritrea's engagement with Somaliland echoes its own struggle for self-determination. Somalia's history is marked by collapse and division since 1991, when Somaliland broke away during the chaos. For over 30 years, Somaliland has built its own institutions and maintained peace, but remains unrecognized. Eritrea and Somalia's relationship has swung from hostility to uneasy alliances and back again. Eritrea was once accused of supporting Somali extremists to undermine Ethiopia's influence in Mogadishu, fueling deep mistrust. In 2018, a brief alliance between Eritrea, Ethiopia, and Somalia promised cooperation, but old suspicions soon resurfaced. Now, Eritrea's support for Somaliland is viewed with deep suspicion in Mogadishu. Somalia's government sees Somaliland's independence bid as an existential threat. Every move by Asmara, Mogadishu, and Hargeisa is shaped by decades of conflict and shifting loyalties. The region's painful history is never far from today's political calculations. Old wounds and new ambitions are colliding, making the current standoff even more volatile. Next, we'll explore why Somaliland has become so important to Eritrea's strategy. The past is prologue, and the stakes have never been higher. Eritrea's pivot toward Somaliland is a calculated move by President Isaias Afwerki. After years of isolation, Eritrea is seeking new partners and influence in the region. Somaliland's port of Berbera and stable government offer economic and strategic opportunities. Access to Berbera could revitalize Eritrea's trade and reduce its dependence on Ethiopia. The UAE's investment in Berbera makes the corridor even more attractive for Asmara. Geopolitically, Eritrea wants to counter Ethiopia's growing influence after Addis Abeba's own deal with Somaliland. By engaging Hargeisa, Eritrea positions itself as a key player in Red Sea security. There's also an ideological angle. Eritrea sees echoes of its own independence struggle in Somaliland's quest. Supporting Somaliland challenges the African Union's stance on borders and pokes at Somalia's fragile government. For Eritrea, a partnership with Somaliland is both a strategic and symbolic win. But this move risks deepening regional rivalries and complicating the Horn's fragile balance. Next, we'll see how Somalia is fighting back to defend its sovereignty. For Somalia's government, Eritrea's engagement with Somaliland is a direct threat. Mogadishu insists Somaliland is part of Somalia, and any outside deals are acts of aggression. Somalia is rallying support from the African Union, Arab League, and UN to defend its unity. Recognizing Somaliland, it argues, could destabilize the region and encourage other secessionist movements. Internally, the government faces pressure to appear strong and uncompromising. Nationalist groups and political rivals are quick to exploit any perceived weakness. Eritrea's involvement could embolden Somaliland and derail any hope of reunification talks. The more support Hargeisa gets, the less incentive it has to negotiate with Mogadishu. Somalia's leaders see Eritrea's moves as an existential challenge to the Somali state. The standoff is hardening positions and pushing the region closer to crisis. Ethiopia's role looms large over the Eritrea-Somalia-Somaliland triangle. In early 2025, Ethiopia signed a deal with Somaliland, offering potential recognition in exchange for a naval base. This shocked the region, infuriated Somalia, and forced Eritrea to act. Eritrea's outreach to Somaliland is a direct response to Ethiopia's ambitions. Asmara wants to prevent Addis Ababa from becoming the sole power broker in Hargeisa. Now both Ethiopia and Eritrea are vying for influence over Somaliland, leaving Somalia squeezed. For Somaliland, attention from both neighbors is a double-edged sword, validation, but also risk of becoming a proxy battleground. Hargeisa must balance the promise of recognition against the danger of losing autonomy. The shadow of Ethiopia has brought Somaliland's cause to the forefront, but also new dangers. The region is now a chessboard of rival ambitions, with Somaliland caught in the middle. Every move by Ethiopia and Eritrea raises the stakes for peace and stability. Next, we'll look at the risks and hopes facing Somaliland as it navigates this perilous path. The choices made now will echo for years to come. For Somaliland, the dream of recognition is closer than ever, but so is the risk. Deals with Ethiopia and Eritrea offer validation, but also provoke Somalia and threaten regional stability. Hargeisa hopes these alliances will trigger a domino effect, leading to wider acceptance. But relying on powerful, unpredictable neighbors could drag Somaliland into conflicts not of its own making. Internally, Somaliland's leaders must manage public expectations and debate over the price of recognition. Some fear that leasing territory or aligning with controversial regimes could undermine hard-won autonomy. The government must keep the nation united as it takes these high-stakes risks. Somaliland is gambling that its strategic location will outweigh the international consensus on Somali unity. If the gamble pays off, it could become Africa's newest state. If it fails, decades of peace and progress could unravel. The stakes for Somaliland and the region have never been higher. Next, we look at the uncertain future facing the Horn of Africa. The Horn of Africa's geopolitical chessboard is being reset, with Somaliland at the center. Eritrea, Ethiopia, and Somalia are locked in a contest that could reshape the region's future. Somaliland's struggle for recognition has become a regional crisis, drawing in powerful neighbors. The world is watching, wary of escalation in a region already facing conflict and humanitarian challenges. The clash between territorial integrity and self-determination has no easy solution. The next moves by Asmara, Mogadishu, and Hargeisa will have lasting consequences. Will Somaliland emerge as a recognized state, or will the region descend into deeper conflict? The answers will define the Horn of Africa for decades to come. What's certain? The choices made now will shape peace, stability, and the future of this critical region. The game is far from over, and the world is watching.